Hey guys, good Friday morning to you. I thought I'd show you a couple of things that sold since yesterday, and we'll talk later about Flashback Friday. And I'm also going to go to a church sale, and I'm hoping to find a lot of items there because yesterday Holly and I went through almost everything that I had to list. So I don't really have a great deal of inventory to list. There are some that are still in the picture phase, like they've had their pictures taken and maybe I haven't written the draft. Um, but I should be able to wipe those out pretty much today. So yeah, and a lot of things have been listed. So, I need inventory. I'm really trying to push myself to get my listings up, and at the same time I'm trying to clear out some of this stale inventory, and I think that is just a normal kind of cycle in reselling, in that you buy some things you think will sell, they don't really sell, and you have to decide what you want to do with them. Are you going to lower the price on eBay? Are you going to do a yard sale or tag sale or garage sale or junk sale or whatever you want to call it in your neck of the woods? Or are you going to redonate it? So you have to constantly be thinking about that. And that's something that any retailer thinks about, is how to get stale inventory out and new inventory in. So I have been running some auctions, and maybe 1 in 8 of those auctions actually sells, but I'm using my free auction, so it's not costing me anything. And I can't think of a better way to just move these things out. So those things that are not selling during like their first or second run through an auction, I'm just running them again. And I'll continue to do that until I've used up all of my auctions. So anyway, without any more blabbering, let me tell you what did sell. So this sold. This is a cross stitch crewel. It's actually a crewel kit, and this sold for $16.97, and plus shipping for a total of $20.72. So it looks like I'd marked that down a couple of times. And then this sold, and this is from that coffee pot that I just parted out not very long ago. So this is a coffee maker that grinds the beans first. It's a really cool coffee pot. But this is the grinder that goes in it. I paid $5 for the coffee pot. I sold this for $12.99. Plus I have all those additional parts to sell, and plus shipping, so $16.38 is what this sold for. Then the other two items, and I do have a couple of items that sold that have not been paid for yet, the auctions that have ended that haven't been paid for. But the other two items are items that were up at auction. So this is some Thomas Fisher-Price Geo-Tracks. And there were 11 pieces to this, but this is the bridge, and then this is the track. I sold this for $6.99, and plus shipping, so $18.84. And then the last thing, sorry, I'm making a little noise this morning. The last thing that sold was this Curious George Discovery Beach game. And I had this for a while. I know I had it through No, I don't know if I had this one through Q4, but I've had this for a good 6 months probably. Wouldn't sell. I put it on auction for $5.99. It sold plus shipping for a total of $13.85, and this will be out the door. So those are the things that sold. I will hopefully buy some items, and I'll show you those when I come back. And but I've got to get these things ready for the mailman, and then I've got to go hit that garage sale, the church sale. It opens in about 30 minutes. I'm probably not going to get there when it opens, but we'll do the best we can to be there as quickly as possible. So hang in there, guys. Okay, guys, I went to the church sale, and I bought 2 big bags of stuff. I usually take my own like shopping bags. So I bought 2 bags this size. I paid $10. So I'm going to show you all of that stuff first. And so everything I'm getting ready to show you right now, I paid $10 for. And basically, I just loaded up the bags, you know, because my hands get full and I can't keep up. So I just loaded up the bags, walked up, nothing was marked. I walked up to a lady and I said, you know, how much for these 2 bags? And she started to go through it, and then she's like, $10. And I'm like, okay. I had told my daughter, I'm like, I'd like to get this for $10, but, you know, I'll pay 20 or something for it if they ask me to. So I was able to get it for $10, and it must have been that subliminal vibe I was sending out. But anyway, let me show you everything that I bought for $10. It's a lot, and this is why I love church sales. Now, this first thing I'm going to show you, I just thought was cool. I don't know if it has really any value or not. It made my husband, who's Arab, go off on a political tangent, but anyway, it's this tapestry, and it depicts like the Ottoman Empire and the Arabs. There's a mosque right there. There's some Bedouins in the middle here. Yeah, so anyway, you know, there was a whole political tirade that he went through, but I digress. This is made in Belgium, and I just thought it was really cool. Again, I don't know if it's worth anything. I'll have to do a ton of research on this, but I just thought it was something cool and interesting. So I picked that up. Let's see what I can do with this stuff when I'm done with it. Here we go. I bought 3 rolls of new border, and this is a bathroom pattern, and again, these were in the bag for $10, and I'm hoping to get like 15 for these 3 rolls, maybe 20, because this farmhouse style is really popular. That country style is really popular right now. This is it's called a Nomad jukebox, Zen Extra. I don't know if it works or not. I saw it on the table, I threw it in the bag, but it's made by Creative, and if this does work indeed, it will sell for about $20. The belt clip is broken, so I don't know if I'll sell it with the case or not. We'll just have to wait and see. I threw this in the bag. I didn't check anything. I just picked it up and chucked it in the bag. This is a Cuisinart grind central, so it's coffee grinder, and this grinder only sells for about $10. And I have told you this before, and I will say it again: part these things out, because this lid sells for $12 to $15 shipped, and this grinder bowl sells for $15 shipped. So, you know, you're getting essentially $20 for this item instead of $10, and you still could sell the base if you were so inclined, which, you know, you could probably get another $10 or $12, probably $10 for that. But yeah, part things out, because there is money to be made by doing that. I guess, yeah, take the lid off. Yeah, take the lid off, it fits fine. Anyway, but yeah, so I'll gross about $30 on this grinder at least, and I'll be pretty happy with that. I really will. I will enjoy that. So I found these, and these have a couple of things going for them. For one, there's 4 of them. For 2, they're kind of that kitschy 70s, 80s kind of pattern. They're daisies. Don't you think daisies are the friendliest flower? I do. They're also otagiri. So, very famous pottery from Japan. And I buy a lot of their mugs and try to resell them. They make teapots and stuff like that. But there are 4 of these. They are old enough that I probably will put them over on Etsy, and I am looking to get about 15 to 20 for these. I did do some research, but I wasn't able to find this particular pattern, but I love this pattern. I think this is really pretty. It's very vintage, and I think it'll be really popular with some of your hipsters. I love hipsters because they have money and they like kitschy kind of things. This is a Midland weather radio public alert system, and I tend to buy these. They don't go for a ton of money, but you know, I usually pick them up for $1 or $2. I think this one will go for about 12 to 15 bucks. Absolutely $10, but maybe 12. But yeah, this one's in really good condition. Again, that was part of a $10 lot of items that I bought. I bought this Dr. Zhivago DVD, and the reason is I've never seen Dr. Zhivago. I don't know, but Omar Sharif. So I probably will keep that and watch it for myself, and then who knows. I'm already thinking Q4. And this is a Spider-Man costume, and I love my DC and Marvel comics both, so I bought this. I probably will get about $12 to $15 for this costume. It's a child size 6, so it's right in that cute age. We watched Logan last night, and it was a good movie, but I don't like it when they kill off characters. I'm not saying that they killed off Logan. I'm just saying that, you know, there was a character or two killed off in this movie, and I'm not happy about that. I don't like that. But anyway, I digress. I bought this. I just threw this bag in because I didn't even know for sure what was in it. Again, part of this $10 lot. A Verizon headset. Let's see what we even have here. Replacement belt clips, probably not worth anything. Ear gels that are compatible with this. And then it looks like a Nokia, maybe a Nokia charger or something. Probably not a lot of money in this bag. It may not have been worth picking up, but again, it was part of that $10 lot. So not out anything for doing that. I love this. So this is a General Electric, considered like an atomic starburst kind of thing. This is from the 1950s. If you're not sure if something is vintagey or not, a good way to sort of tell is to look at the plug. This one's kind of gross. It's got some yuck on it. And I'm glad that I got that on me. But look at the plug, because the plugs are very distinct, and the older the plug is, the more distinct it is. But yeah, that's definitely a 1950s, 60s kind of plug. But again, this is part of that $10 lot, and I'm gonna put this on Etsy. I did not see any like this, and of course I didn't have the right keywords. I'm gonna have to remove this tape to kind of get the model number and stuff, but maybe $15 to $20 on that really cool clock that will look great in somebody's kitchen. I always pick these up when I buy them because I really don't have to make a listing for them. I already have listings for these. These sell for about $7 shipped. They are George Foreman grill grease drip trays. So, you know, I sell those every once in a while. They don't take up a lot of space. They're a couple of extra bucks, and I'm always happy to get those. This is made by Gregorian, made in the USA. It's solid copper. This is a one of those Russian mules, and I think this one's got a dent in it, but I'm gonna lot it together with the sugar pot that I also found. Again, I didn't look these up, but I think I can get about 15 bucks for the pair of these. Okay, so I could see that these rolled up were something that I needed to buy, and they are not in perfect condition. Some of them are, though the most popular ones aren't, but these are vintage 90s, maybe even late 80s. But look at this. So This is Luigi, but Luigi's got some damage down here on his leg. And it's got some other cool stars, toadstools, bullets, all of those other. And forgive me because I won't know all the characters' names because I have forgotten. This one is in actually pretty good condition. And Belzer, Richard Belzer, that's who didn't know. I forget his name. He's the bad guy, right? He's the boss at the end. With the toadstool and the little turtle, and look at all the cool stuff that's on here. Here's Peach. But Peach has got some damage there on her head. That's a cool Nintendo decal. Here are some other characters. These are all actually in pretty good condition, but they're not the most popular characters either. Again, another cool Nintendo sticker. And finally this one. Look, it's a me, Mario. Mario's got some damage. He's got some damage to his face. But there's a couple of other, coins and stuff on this one. If you find these new, like new old stock, they will go not often. They don't sell often. There's only one sold and one listed. But for about $200. I'm not expecting to get, I've even got the instruction sheet, but I'm not expecting to get $200 because of the condition of those. I might try to get 50 out of them because the most famous characters, the most wanted characters are the ones that are damaged. So we'll just see what happens. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I may throw them up at auction and see what happens. So I picked up this. I could see a little bit of this poking out, and I thought, ooh, those are pretty. Again, this is part of that $10 lot. Pay $10 for all of the stuff that I've shown you so far. This is Temptations, which is not worth a lot. Not what you would think, but cute. Really, really cute. Really cute farmhouse kind of colors on this one. So I've got 2 loaf pans. I think I can get about 25 to 30 bucks for a pair of loaf pans. I love this color and print, by the way. And I also have, oh gosh, there's extra stuff I didn't even know about. What is this? Oh, coasters. Didn't even know these were in here. Don't know what these are worth because I did not look them up. I'll probably maybe be able to get 15 to 20 for the lasagna pan. So I'm pretty happy about that. And then these 2 little extra cuties. Who knows? Mama might keep them. Don't judge me. I keep stuff sometimes. Gosh, you guys are getting so tough. Anyway, so I bought this guy. He is not worth a fortune. Avert your eyes because he's not an attractive guy. So this is vintage 1950s, and this guy does have some damage that I did not realize when I picked him up, and I may have damaged him in the bag. I don't know. This is 1950s poodle. This is called Spaghetti Ceramic. You can see that detail. See how that's kind of like almost reminds me of like Play-Doh when you do the spaghetti. But anyway, I might be able to get $18 to $20 for him if he was in perfect condition. Maybe I can get $10 in this condition, but he's still kind of cool. Very kitschy, and again, I may try and put him on Etsy. Who knows? The last thing I got out of that $10 haul is this little. By the way, I bought toys for my grandson, and I bought some toys for one of his cousins. So I bought extra stuff too that I can't show you because I already gave them to them. But so I bought this little box of records. And these probably aren't worth that much. but I can't help myself when I get nostalgic. Charlie Brown's Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and the albums are, the records are in these. Little Red Hen, Georgie and the Noisy Ghost, Hansel and Gretel. There's a Care Bears one. I don't feel the record in that one. There are also these kind of cool things, and this is a bolo. And we're going to talk about the 60s today, 1964. These were from the 60s, and the records are not so much of a bolo. So let me see if any of them. Okay, this is called Show and Tell. General Electric is the company that put out the player, which is what you need to be on the bolo for. But you would put this record on the top here, and it would give you a slideshow on the player. And lots of these can go for 50, 75. You know, depends. Again, I will say, you know, if you ask $10 for it, you'll get $10 for it. But yeah, there, you know, this is kind of something to look for, because these can be worth some money if you've got a nice lot of it. So nothing creepy here about the Candyman. That, remember Peter Pan records? They put out some of the weirdest stuff. My favorite, probably my favorite Disney movie of all time is Dumbo. And I won't take you through all of these. There's another Peter Pan. But anyway, wow, here is Peter Pan. But yeah, I just thought these were cute. Some of these don't have the records in them. There is a stack of records in here that I will try to match with some of the books that are missing. But anyway, I couldn't help myself, but I don't care. I paid $10 for all this stuff. If I get $10 from this, I'm back to square one, and everything else that I sell is profit. And that's a good way to do business, you know. So anyway, there's that. And then I did pick up some stuff at a yard sale, and I did not check a lot of this either. I just kind of picked it up. I spent $18 at the yard sale. I spent $5 of that in little girls' clothes for, you know, a friend of my daughter, and they're looking, you know, they don't have a lot of money, so I bought some girls' clothes. So that was $5. So basically what I'm showing you here is $13 worth of stuff. This is not worth very much, maybe $10, but I thought it was cute, and one of my daughters might like it. This is a 31 purse with the cute little ruffles on it, and there's the 31 logo. I don't know if you can pick that up or not. Don't know if you even care. Maybe you don't. So I thought this was adorbs. It is a little Muppet Babies tote bag. This is from 1986. Again, I'll put this on Etsy. This is actually new. It's not been used. And I'll see if I can get 10 bucks for it, just because it's so darn stinking cute. I used to watch Muppet Babies with my babies. Oh my gosh, adorable. Just adorable. Miss Piggy, probably not worth very much. I might be able to get 10 bucks out of her. Paid 50 cents for it. But she's just kind of cool. I loved the Muppets. The Statler and Waldorf, you know, and Gonzo the Great, and Fozzie the Bear, Waka Waka, and the Swedish Chef. Oh my gosh. You know, pretty funny. I did not look this up. I paid $2 for it. It is one of those polar fitness watches. It may not be worth a thing. Again, I didn't look it up. I should have, but we were kind of in a rush. It was getting ready to rain. So, pick that up. I got these movies for my daughter and then forgot to give them to her. Robots, Madagascar, and The Final Ice Age. So really, I only spent $10 there. Let's see. This is why I love church yard sales, because they're so cheap. This is a regular yard sale. It was not as cheap. I didn't know if this was worth anything. This is a Verizon Pantech phone. It still has the plastic cover on the front. I paid $1 for it. I'm going to plug it up and see, you know, if it works or anything, but even if I get 10 bucks out of that, I'll be happy. This is a cost, oh good, I didn't realize that. I hate it when people do that. I may sell this for parts, but it's a cost CD player. I make mistakes, still do, because I was in a hurry and didn't look anything up. I bought a bunch of wooden letters. I'm going to throw all of this up on Etsy. Maybe $8, $10 there. Not a lot. And the last but not least, and I don't know if I did good on these or not because I didn't look them up. These are Scentsy wraps. And typically anything Scentsy does pretty well. So it looks like these go over maybe the jar candle or something like that. I paid $3 for the 3 of these. Holly said, here mom, pick these up. So I picked them up. Let's see. Oh, here's a Halloweeny one. So maybe I would make a holiday lot of these, unless the other one is the same. Same color box. Let's see. No, it's different. It's a Skyline. Maybe Gotham. I don't know. I doubt it's Gotham. But hopefully, you know, I can get a little bit of money out of those. But that's all I bought today, which is going to keep me quite busy in the coming days with listing and stuff. So it looks like these go between 10, they can go up to $30. So I feel like I did okay on those. That Halloween one might not be as popular, but I'll lot those together and sell them for 25 bucks. I don't care. I paid $3 for them. So anyway, that's all I bought. I'm gonna do some research because that's what I do, and get this stuff put away, and then we'll come back and talk back about 1964. And I hope I can do it with a straight face, just because sometimes I'm just kind of in an afterglow kind of thing. But anyway, I'll be back with you guys. I'll be back with you guys in a couple of minutes, and we will talk about 1964. All right, folks, let's talk about 1964, year in which I was not born, but I know that some of my subscribers were, and you know, things that were kind of happening right before we were born, and the few years before we were born, kind of bled over into our, you know, infancy and young childhood. So anyway, I just thought we would talk about 1964, which was a huge year. We're not going to be able to cover everything. I wish we could talk about everything, but I will talk about who's the president. That was Lyndon Johnson, and guess what? We had no vice president. It was vacant because Johnson had become president as a result of President Kennedy being assassinated in Dealey Plaza the November before. So we got no vice president, but we're going to talk about the birth of twins. We are going to talk about being invaded by the British. We're also going to talk about My Little Pony and some other stuff. So hang in there. We're going to talk about chapter and all the verses. Chapter and all the verses. Speaking of verses, in Coolidge versus New Hampshire, the Supreme Court set aside Mr. Coolidge's conviction of the murder of a 14-year-old girl after deciding that his Fourth Amendment rights were violated regarding the unlawful search of his automobile. The Fourth Amendment, in case you're not aware, protects citizens against unlawful search and seizure. In Westbury versus Sanders, the Supreme Court ruled that congressional districts must have approximately the same population. And that's where gerrymandering comes in, where they try to redistrict everything, but I digress about that. The Heart of Atlanta Motel versus the United States, The Supreme Court rules that establishments that offer public accommodations must refrain from racial discrimination in accordance with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Guess what? The Civil Rights Act was enacted in 1964. That law was signed into bill was signed into law in 1964. In New York Times versus Sullivan, the Supreme Court rules that under the First Amendment, speech criticizing political figures cannot be censored. And think about that, because 1964 was what, 60 years ago, 50 years ago? I don't do math. But anyway, you know, it was just that long ago that we had to have a Supreme Court ruling that said we could talk bad about political figures, and there was nothing that they could do about it. There is some discussion by some of our political leaders about repealing that law, basically, or changing that particular decision. I always wondered what would happen if the Supreme Court was replaced by the Supremes, what those decisions might be. Although, you know, they may not be the same decisions, but they would definitely sound better with the vocal harmonies of the Supremes. I digress. And in Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston, also in 1964, Cassius Clay defeats Sonny Liston in Miami Beach and is crowned the heavyweight champion of the world. He celebrated later that evening with Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown, who was a football fullback. Soon after that, he changes his name to Muhammad Ali. That same year, Malcolm X will be suspended from the Nation of Islam and deliver a speech called The Ballot or the Bullet. Later this year, he will leave the Nation of Islam, and by the end of 1964, Sam Cooke will have died, and Malcolm X will follow the next year, in 1965. Teamsters President Jimmy Hoffa is convicted of federal jury tampering by a federal jury. Kind of ironic how that happens. That occurred in 1962, so it did take 2 years for that that entire court process, but he was convicted. I can't find my notes on Jimmy Hoffa right now, but we can't find Jimmy Hoffa right now, so I guess maybe my notes are with Jimmy Hoffa. In Mississippi, Henry Hezekiah D. and Charles Eddie Moore are kidnapped, beaten, and murdered by members of the KKK. Their badly decomposed bodies are found in a search for missing activists Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner. Those 3 activists were also abducted and murdered by members of the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. As promised, we would talk about being invaded by the British, and the Beatles appeared on Ed Sullivan for the first time in 1964. They released their first album in the United States called Meet the Beatles, and I Want to Hold Your Hand vaults to #1 on the U.S. singles chart. And that began the British invasion with the Stones and all of these other, many other British bands debuting in the United States shortly after that. Bob Dylan, being the true-blooded American that he was and is, and such an icon, introduces the Beatles to cannabis. I told you we'd talk about the birth of twins, and plans to build the World Trade Center is announced in 1964, and that complex would later be known as the Twin Towers, and we kind of know what happened in 2001 that destroyed the Twin Towers. But 1964 was the year that they announced the plan to build the World Trade Center. My Little Pony. In 1964, late in the year, the first Ford Mustang rolls off the assembly line, and it sparked a love affair with this true American muscle cars, and I have an affinity for American muscle cars, Corvettes, Camaros, Firebirds, and many others, but Mustangs have to be some of my favorites. The body styles in the 80s, not so much. 90s, not so much, but as they have started to have that retro look again, of those 60s, late 60s models, Mustangs, I just love a Mustang. 1964, John Glenn resigned from the space program. John Glenn was the first American to orbit the Earth. He also announced his nomination, that he would seek the Democratic nomination for Senator of Ohio. In Columbus, Ohio in 1964, John Glenn slipped on a bathroom mat or rug and hit his head, injuring his left inner ear, and that prompted him to withdraw from the race for the Democratic nomination. Mary Poppins premieres in Los Angeles, and it will go on to become Disney's biggest moneymaker and winner of 5 Academy Awards, including Best Actress for Julie Andrews, after she was passed over for Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. And Mary Poppins is probably one of the best Disney live action movies. I mean, it's just good. It's got Dick Van Dyke and it's got Julie Andrews, and they're both amazing. And you know, if you haven't seen it, I don't know what's wrong with you, but if you haven't seen it, watch Mary Poppins. It is magical. It is still magical today, even for us older folks. Speaking of her being passed over for Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady also premiered in 1964 in New York City. It starred Audrey Hepburn as My Fair Lady, and they actually dubbed over Audrey Hepburn's vocals in My Fair Lady, which I'm not sure, I don't think she knew that they were going to do that. I'm sure that was very hurtful, but anyway, I digress. Rex Harrison repeated his stage performance as Henry Eggins. Rex Harrison won his only Academy Award for his portrayal of Henry Eggins. My Fair Lady takes home 7 Academy Awards that year, including Best Picture, but Hepburn was not nominated. Perhaps that was a little snub by critics who favored Julie Andrews for the role. But I say nay, because had Julie Andrews been in My Fair Lady, she would not have been in Mary Poppins. And I think both of those, both of the ladies that played their respective roles were perfect. So I wouldn't change a thing. We haven't even talked about the Vietnam War and draft card burning and riots and protests, but let's skip that for something more fun. We all know about the Vietnam War. Movies this year, not including the aforementioned My Fair Lady and Mary Poppins, included Dr. Strangelove, Goldfinger with Sean Connery, Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte with Bette Davis, A Fistful of Dollars with Clint Eastwood, A Hard Day's Night, starring, of course, the Beatles, Zorba the Greek with Anthony Quinn, The Mask of Red Death, which starred Vincent Price. And there was nothing creepier than Vincent Price horror movies in this era. He was just scary. He was just really scary. Viva Las Vegas starred Elvis Presley. Dead Ringer was another like horror flick that starred Bette Davis. So she had 2 movies that were released this year. The Unsinkable Molly Brown, which is a great musical movie, starred Debbie Reynolds. TV shows that would be making their debut in 1964 included these favorites: Bewitched, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Addams Family, The Munsters, Flipper, Gomer Pyle USMC, Daniel Boone, Gilligan's Island, Shindig, and Johnny Quest, which is the only cartoon on that list. Shows that you could still watch in 1964 included The Red Skelton Show, My Favorite Martian, The Patty Duke Show, Walt Disney's Disneyland, one of my favorites, Petticoat Junction, The Flintstones, The Lucy Show, so it's no longer I Love Lucy, it's The Lucy Show now, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Bonanza. Have you ever sang How Much Wood Would a Woodchuck Chuck to Bonanza? Because it works. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck Bonanza? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I'm just saying it works. I chuck wood, you chuck wood, we both chuck some wood. Anyway, Gunsmoke, My 3 Sons, The Beverly Hillbillies, and The Andy Griffith Show. Deaths this year, people that died this year, include Harpo Marx, and I know what he would say about that. Nothing. Prime Minister Nehru, author Flannery O'Connor, Peter Lorre, Douglas MacArthur, Gracie Allen, Cole Porter, Sam Cooke, Ian Fleming, and Herbert Hoover. On the country charts, the top 3 songs for 1964 included Understand Your Man by Johnny Cash. I don't know if I remember that or not. Burning Memories by Ray Price, and I know I don't remember that. Although I know who Ray Price is, I don't remember that song. And My Heart Skips a Beat by Buck Owens. I probably know that song, I just don't know it off the top of my head. And I'm usually pretty good with country music, but these songs just don't ring a bell for me. On the R&B charts was Walk On By Dionne Warwick, Funny by Joe Hinton, and My Guy. It's not My Guy. It is My Guy by Mary Wells, but that's not the song. Nothing you can say can turn me away from my guy. That's My Guy. And on the Billboard charts, the top 3 songs were Hello Dolly by Louis Armstrong. And I think Hello Dolly... There was some news about Hello Dolly in 1964. I don't remember what it was. It may have made its debut on Broadway, but I don't remember. She Loves You by the Beatles. And finally, the #1 song of 1964 was I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. So that is pretty much 1964 in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this Flashback Friday. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I appreciate you being here. It makes me really happy to be able to share these memories with you guys. And again, I hope that you are enjoying these videos. Like, share, subscribe, and if you subscribe, hit the little bell button, and you will get notifications when I go live or when I post a new video. Also, feel free to join the Facebook page. That's Socially Awkward Sellers on Facebook. And we would love to have you there and continue the conversation. As always, just remember that the dream works when you do. So keep dreaming and keep working, and I'll see you the next time.